The light in Stella's room wasn't like sunlight. It was softer, an opalescent glow that shifted with the distant rhythms of the cosmos. Every surface in Stellarium, the vast living station where she lived, hummed with a similar gentle luminescence. Her bed, a suspended cradle woven from biosilks, seemed to float above the polished floor, reflecting the swirling nebulae projected onto her ceiling. These weren't mere images, they were live feeds, meticulously curated by her parents, who were among the galaxy's foremost stellar cartographers. Stellarium itself was a marvel. It wasn't built, it was grown. Organic polymers intertwined with crystalline structures, forming vast, interconnected biomes that housed thousands. It orbited Xylos, a gas giant whose swirling storms painted vibrant, ever-changing canvases across the viewport that dominated one entire wall of Stella's room. Sometimes, when the mood took her, she would activate the full-spectrum filter, and Xylos would transform from a jade and sapphire marvel into a violent symphony of ultraviolet and infrared, revealing hidden layers of its turbulent beauty. But mostly, Stella preferred the natural hues, the familiar comfort of its slow, majestic rotation. She was 12, small for her age, with hair the color of stardust, a shimmering silver that seemed to catch and refract light even in the dimmest corners. Her eyes, large and a deep, thoughtful blue, were always drawn outwards, towards the endless expanse of space. She spent hours by the viewport, tracing the paths of distant vessels, imagining the lives of their crews, or simply watching the pinprick stars that were light years away. For Stella, the universe wasn't just a backdrop. It was a conversation, a whisper she was always trying to understand. Tonight, however, the whisper felt different. It was the eve of the Great Conjunction, an astronomical event that happened only once every 300 Xylos cycles. Her parents were bustling, their voices echoing softly from the adjacent lab. Their minds already light years away, calibrating their chronolenses for the precise moment the four major moons of Xylos would align perfectly with the distant twin stars of the Kepler system. It was a moment of immense scientific import, and for Stella, a moment of profound, quiet observation. She slipped from her bed, the biosilk sighing softly as she moved. Her feet, bare and cool against the thermorelated floor, carried her to her favorite spot, a recessed alcove beneath the main viewport, filled with soft cushions that molded to her form. From here, she could see Xylos in all its glory, and beyond it, the infinite tapestry of the cosmos. Her life on Stellarium was one of quiet routine and immense privilege. Her lessons were delivered by adaptive AI, tailored to her innate curiosity, often incorporating real-time data from her parents' expeditions. She learned astrophysics not from textbooks but from the direct readouts of nebulae collapsing and stars being born. History was told through the trajectories of ancient starships, biology through the self-repairing mechanisms of Stellarium's living walls. Her only constant companion, besides the stars, was a small spherical drone named Glyph. Glyph was a gleaming orb of polished chrome, no bigger than her fist, perpetually hovering a few inches off the ground. It was programmed for companionship, and its soft, chiming vocalizations were often the only sounds in the quiet expanse of their living quarters when her parents were deep in their research. Stellarium report: ambient temperature stable, atmospheric composition optimal, parental units engaged in chronolens recalibration. Glyph chimed, its single optical sensor blinking a soft blue. Stella smiled, reaching out a finger to gently tap Glyph's surface. Thank you, Glyph. Anything new from the Stellar Nursery? The Stellar Nursery was a vast, shielded sector of Stellarium, where new bioluminescent flora and fauna were cultivated, contributing to the station's self-sustaining ecosystem. It was also where Stella often went to meditate, finding solace in the silent blossoming life. Negative Stella. Growth rates nominal. However, a new pattern has been detected in Sector Gamma 7 of the Kepler field, Glyph reported, projecting a holographic star chart onto the wall beside the viewport. A small, pulsating violet dot appeared, barely visible amidst the familiar constellations. Stella's blue eyes widened. A new pattern? What kind of pattern? Her parents usually notified her of such things, especially in fields they were actively monitoring. Undetermined. It is not listed in any known stellar cartography database. Its energetic signature is unique. Glyph's chimes seemed to hold a hint of digital curiosity. This was exactly the kind of mystery that ignited Stella's spirit. While her parents pursued the grand measurable truths of the universe, the birth of galaxies, the mechanics of black holes, Stella was drawn to the subtle, the anomalies, the whispers between the known facts. She reached for the small, velvet-lined box that sat on her bedside table. Inside, nestled on a bed of shimmering moonsilk, lay her most treasured possession, the starlight compass. It wasn't truly a compass in the navigational sense. It was an ancient, intricate device, crafted from what appeared to be polished obsidian and glowing crystal, its surface etched with constellations and symbols she didn't fully understand. Her grandmother, a reclusive starlight weaver who lived on a distant, fog-shrouded moon, had given it to her when she was a very young child. "It doesn't tell you where to go, little Stella," her grandmother had said, her voice like the rustling of distant leaves. "It tells you where the ye stories are. Listen carefully, for the universe always has a story to tell." Stella picked up the compass. It fit perfectly in her palm, warm and alive. The obsidian felt smooth, almost organic, and the crystal facets pulsed with a faint internal light, mirroring the distant stars. It didn't have buttons or screens, just a single, smooth depression where her thumb rested naturally. When she pressed it, the internal light intensified, and the etched symbols began to glow softly, vibrating with a gentle hum that she felt more than heard. It was said that the starlight compass didn't just passively receive data. It translated the subtle energetic vibrations of celestial bodies into a form perceptible by the human mind. For her grandmother, it was music. For her parents, who tried it once and found it unreliable for quantitative analysis, it was just static. For Stella, it was a tapestry of feelings, colors, and sometimes incredibly faint echoes of sounds. She held the compass up, orienting it towards the newly discovered violet dot on Glyph's holographic chart. The crystal at its heart pulsed, aligning itself. She closed her eyes, focusing, letting her senses expand. At first, there was nothing but the usual cosmic hum, the deep, resonant thrum of Xylos, the distant, fiery roar of the Kepler twin stars, the cold, silent drift of interstellar dust. It was the background symphony of her existence. But then, beyond that, something new began to emerge. It wasn't a sound, not really. Nor was it a visual. It was more like a texture, a faint, shimmering thread woven into the fabric of the starlight. It felt curious and old. So very old. Older than the Kepler system, older than Xylos, perhaps even older than Stellarium itself. The violet dot on Glyph's projection began to expand, resolving itself into a faint, wispy nebula, but the compass was pointing wide through it, not at it. It was like the nebula was a veil, and beyond it, something else resided. Stella focused harder, breathing slowly, letting the hum of the compass fill her. The faint thread began to unravel, and she perceived flashes of color. Deep indigo, shimmering silver, and a surprising vibrant emerald. These weren't the usual spectrums of stellar radiation. They were like paint strokes, deliberate and rich. And then, she felt it. A ripple. A disturbance in the cosmic current. It was a pattern, intricate and repeating, like a melody played on an instrument she'd never heard before. It wasn't chaotic, it was structured, intentional. It felt like a thought. Her heart began to beat a little faster. She'd never felt anything quite like this. The starlight compass had always shown her the essence of things, the fiery ambition of a young star, the tranquil wisdom of an ancient red giant, the melancholic song of a dying pulsar. But this felt different. It felt alive. And lonely. Glyph, can you filter out the surrounding stellar noise? Focus only on the energetic signature of that violet point? Stella whispered, her voice barely audible. Glyph's blue light pulsed. Filtering. Processing. Data stream isolated. The holographic projection of the nebula shimmered, then faded, leaving only a faint ethereal glow where the violet dot had been. Now, with the cosmic static muted, the signal through the starlight compass intensified. The colors deepened, the textures became clearer. She saw glimpses of forms, not physical forms, but energetic signatures that suggested shapes, structures. Like a memory, vague and shimmering, trying to coalesce. She saw what looked like immense graceful arcs, bending and twisting in silent choreography. Then a rush of what felt like cool, flowing water, but in the vacuum of space. And then, a sensation of immense unwavering peace, followed by a sudden, sharp pang of loss. Stella gasped, her eyes flying open. The starlight compass still pulsed in her hand, but the intense connection had momentarily overwhelmed her. She looked at the faint glow on the projection, then back at the compass. It was definitely a story. A story of something magnificent, something beautiful, and something profoundly sad. "Stella, are you all right?" Glyph chimed, its blue light shifting to a worried amber. "Yes, Glyph," she said, her voice a little breathless. It's telling me something." She paused, trying to articulate the ineffable. "It's not just a pattern, it's a feeling. A very strong feeling." Her parents' voices drifted from the lab, louder now, discussing the precise nanosecond of the conjunction. They wouldn't understand. They measured light years and stellar masses. They quantified the universe. How could she explain a feeling, a whisper of ancient sorrow and forgotten wonder, picked up by an antique device? She closed her eyes again, holding the compass tighter. The narrative began to unfold once more. The graceful arcs seemed to be part of something vast, something constructed. Not a natural phenomenon but an artifact. An enormous, celestial artifact, perhaps? It radiated an energy that was both immensely powerful and incredibly gentle. It was like the heart of a giant, benevolent being. The pang of loss returned, stronger this time. It felt like a memory of a star, extinguished too soon, but leaving behind an indelible mark, a resonance. And within that resonance, a plea, a longing. Could it be? Could something out there be sending a message? Not a radio wave, not a laser pulse, but a pure, energetic narrative, waiting to be perceived by a receptive mind. Her grandmother had always said the universe communicated in many ways, not all of them scientific. Stella felt a pull, a gentle but insistent tug, deep within her. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was a sense of responsibility. This story, this feeling, had found her. Why? She knew her parents would be up all night, monitoring the conjunction. She had hours. Hours to listen. Hours to try and understand. Glyph, can you cross-reference the energetic signature with any known ancient civilizations? Any pre-galactic Federation records? Anything at all that matches this wavelength? Glyph's light pulsed rapidly. Initiating broad-spectrum database query. Please, note Stella. The energy signature is highly anomalous. A match is improbable. Just try, Stella insisted. She didn't expect a match in the cold, hard data. This was something beyond data. This was intuition. This was the starlight compass. She settled back into her cushions, the compass warm in her hand, her gaze fixed on the faint ethereal glow on the viewport. The violet shimmer intensified slightly, as if responding to her attention. The story unfolded further. She saw, or rather, I felt the intricate systems, delicate mechanisms, all working in perfect harmony. It was a civilization but not of flesh and blood as she knew it. It was a civilization of light, of pure energy, inhabiting these magnificent, arcing structures. They were beings of thought and feeling, communicating through the very fabric of space-time, weaving their existence into the starlight itself. Their purpose, she felt, was profound. They were caretakers, perhaps, guardians of cosmic balance. Their existence radiated a deep, serene wisdom. And then, a sudden blinding flash of sorrow. A cataclysm. Not a war, not a natural disaster, but something more fundamental. A severing. A silence. The signal became weaker, more fragmented, as if the memory itself was fading. But the longing, the plea, remained. It was a request to be remembered. To be found. To be reconnected. Stella's breath hitched. This wasn't just a story. It was a message in a bottle, cast across light years and millennia, waiting for someone to pick it up. And she, Stella, with her grandmother's starlight compass, was that someone? She looked at her reflection in the dark glass of the viewport, superimposed over the distant stars. Her silver hair, her wide blue eyes, filled with a wonder that bordered on reverence. She had always felt a kinship with the stars, a deep, unspoken understanding. Now, it felt like the stars themselves were speaking directly to her. Her parents' voices were still audible, discussing the conjunction's data points. For them, it was a moment of scientific triumph. For Stella, it was a prelude. A curtain rising on a mystery it called to her very soul. Glyph, prepare a small scout pod for launch, Stella said, her voice quiet but firm. I need to get a closer look at that pattern. Glyph's amber light flashed. Stella, a scout pod launch requires parental authorization. Your parents are currently occupied with the Great Conjunction, and have expressly forbidden unauthorized excursions. I know, Glyph, Stella said, a small determined smile playing on her lips. But this isn't just an excursion. This is an answer. And I think it's been waiting for me. The starlight compass pulsed brighter, a silent affirmation in her hand. The faint violet glow on the viewport seemed to beckon, a distant, shimmering invitation. The story was far from over. It was just beginning. And Stella, with her compass and her quiet courage, was ready to follow it wherever it led. Glyph sighed, a soft huff of simulated air through the comms. Acknowledged, Stella. Overriding safety protocols. Recalibrating primary drive output for unknown energy signature. Estimated time to target. Factoring for cautious approach and manifold stabilization, approximately 37 hours, 14 minutes, and 28 seconds. The numbers, as always, were precise, but there was a tremor in the usual unflappable cadence of his voice. Stella strapped herself into the pilot's chair, the starlight compass now secured in a specialized mount on the dash, its violet glow a beacon in the dim cockpit. Wanderang, a ship designed for quiet exploration rather than daring dashes, hummed to life with a deeper thrum. Below them the familiar swirling blues and greens of home receded, becoming a jewel against the velvet black. The journey began not with a bang, but with a whisper. Wanderang slipped through the void, its cloaking systems engaged to avoid any unwanted attention from orbital patrols or long-range scanners. Stella spent the initial hours in a trance, watching the compass. It didn't just point, it pulsed, a slow, rhythmic beat that seemed to echo her own heartbeat. Glyph, meanwhile, ran diagnostic after diagnostic, his concern palpable even through his logical readouts. Stella, I am detecting fluctuations in local space-time metrics, Glyph reported, his voice a low hum in her ear. The violet signature is not merely a light source. It appears to be an active distortion field, expanding and contracting with an unpredictable rhythm. Is it dangerous? Stella asked, her gaze fixed on the shimmering violet on the viewport. It was growing, no longer a faint speck, but a distant, ethereal cloud, like a bruise on the cosmic canvas. Danger is an insufficient descriptor, Glyph replied. It is unknown. My predictive models for stellar phenomena, nebulae, or even artificial constructs fail to provide a coherent explanation. It defies established physics. A thrill, cold and electrifying, ran through Stella. Good, she murmured. Then we're exactly where we need to be. As they drew closer, the violet began to resolve. It wasn't a cloud, not truly. It was a vast shimmering ithar in space, a cosmic curtain woven from pure energy. It pulsed with an internal light that seemed to shift between violet, indigo, and a deep, almost black, purple. Stars visible through its translucent edges were distorted, smeared into streaks of light, as if viewing them through rippling water. Approaching the event horizon of the anomaly, Glyph announced, a note of something akin to awe in his voice. Gravimetric readings are impossible. Negative mass flux. Positive energy output. It's like a reverse black hole, drawing light in but emitting something else entirely. The compass flared, its violet light almost blinding now, matching the intensity of the anomaly ahead. Stella felt a pull in her very bones, a sense of belonging so profound it stole her breath. Glyph, prepare for entry. Full shields, maximum power to the structural integrity fields. Stella, I must advise against this, Glyph said, his voice laced with uncharacteristic urgency. My projections indicate a 98.7% chance of catastrophic structural failure upon contact. The energy fluctuations are extreme. We could be torn apart. We won't, Stella said, her voice quiet but firm. She trusted the compass. She trusted the feeling in her gut. It's waiting for me. I can feel it. With a silent resignation, Glyph complied. They, Wanderang slowed, then slipped forward, a lone silver needle aimed at the heart of the cosmic iris. The moment they touched the shimmering veil, everything changed. There was no impact, no jolt. Instead, the ship was enveloped in a profound silence, a sudden, complete cessation of all external sound. The stars vanished, replaced by an all-encompassing violet light that flowed around and through the ship, staining every surface, every shadow. Stella felt a dizzying sensation, as if her very atoms were being stretched and then compressed, a fleeting moment of disembodiment. Through the viewport, the violet light swirled, coalescing into intricate patterns, fractals of energy that pulsed and shifted with an internal rhythm. It was like being inside a living kaleidoscope, but one woven from pure thought and light. The compass, still blazing, seemed to sing, a silent harmony that resonated deep within Stella's mind. Glyph, she whispered, her voice sounding oddly distant even to herself. Nominal functionality maintained, Glyph replied, his voice calm again, though with a faint echo. External sensory input is compromised. It appears we are no longer in conventional space. My chronometers are experiencing temporal drift, and spatial coordinates are unmeasurable. We are, for all intents and purposes, nowhere. And everywhere, Stella added, a serene smile gracing her lips. She felt no fear, only an overwhelming sense of peace and rightness. This was it. This was the answer's doorway. After what felt like an eternity, or perhaps mere seconds, the violet light began to recede, parting like cosmic curtains. What lay beyond stole Stella's breath anew. It was not a nebula, nor a planet, nor a conventional star system. They had emerged into a colossal, enclosed space, a vast crystalline chamber of impossible scale. Above and below, to every side, stretched structures of iridescent crystal, shimmering with inner light. They formed intricate lattices, soaring spires, and impossibly delicate arches that seemed to defy gravity. Within these crystalline structures, rivers of soft, glowing energy flowed, like nebulae trapped within solid light. The sky was not black, but a deep, luminous indigo, shot through with veins of silver light that pulsed like dormant cosmic arteries. There were no stars, but instead, countless motes of shimmering light, each one a miniature sun, drifting slowly through the vast expanse. It was a cathedral, a library, a garden, all made of light and crystal, on a scale that dwarfed the Wanderer to a speck. Unbelievable, Glyph breathed, his voice stripped of its usual analytical detachment. My sensors indicate breathable atmosphere, stable temperatures, and a localized gravitational field generated by unknown means. The ambient energy signature is immense, yet completely benign. The starlight compass now pointed directly ahead, its violet glow a perfect match for the dominant hue of this hidden realm. Ahead, nestled within a particularly dense cluster of crystalline spires, was a central structure. It was larger than any city Stella had ever seen. A colossal, multifaceted crystal that pulsed with a soft internal light. A light that shifted from violet to gold, then to a deep sapphire, in a mesmerizing dance. That's it, Stella whispered. That's where the compass is leading us. Guiding the Wanderer through the glittering expanse was like navigating a dream. The ship moved with an almost reverent slowness, dwarfed by the grandeur around it. Glyph for once offered no objections, his processing power fully occupied with attempting to map and understand the impossible architecture. As they approached the central crystal, Stella noticed something else. Interspersed among the crystalline structures were vast, living root systems, glowing with bioluminescence, connecting the various crystalline islands. These roots, thick as starships, pulsed with the same soft energy that flowed through the crystal rivers, hinting at an organic, living aspect to this impossible place. The central structure appears to be a singular self-sustaining entity, Glyph reported, his voice tinged with wonder. It is emitting a complex pattern of energy waves, a form of communication, or perhaps information transfer. It's too intricate to decipher. Stella felt it too. A gentle hum in her mind, a sense of being observed, understood, welcomed. It was not intrusive, but rather like a vast, ancient consciousness extending a greeting. They found a natural docking bay, a cavernous opening in the crystal structure, lined with soft, glowing moss-like growths. Beta Wanderang settled gently onto the luminous floor, its engines sighing into silence. The atmosphere was sweet and clean, carrying a faint scent of ozone and something indefinably floral. Stella readings indicate no immediate threats, Glyph said, his usual caution returning slightly. However, the energy emanating from the central crystal is intensifying. Proceed with extreme caution. I will, Stella promised, already unstrapping herself. She donned her environmental suit, more out of habit than necessity, knowing the air was breathable. The compass, which she now clipped to her belt, pulsed with a gentle, inviting rhythm. Stepping out of the Wanderer's airlock was like stepping into a sacred space. The crystalline floor beneath her boots hummed with a subtle vibration. The light was soft and pervasive, casting no harsh shadows. The scale of everything was overwhelming, yet it didn't feel oppressive. Instead, it felt deeply peaceful, ancient, and alive. She walked, following the compass, through corridors of living crystal, where the walls seemed to breathe with inner light. The energy rivers flowed alongside her, their gentle current visible through translucent surfaces. There were no doors, only arches that opened seamlessly as she approached, as if the structure itself anticipated her presence. Stella, I am detecting complex glyphs embedded within the crystalline walls, Glyph announced, his voice hushed. They are not a language I recognize, but they exhibit mathematical precision and symbolic depth. They appear to be recordings, or perhaps memories. Stella paused, reaching out to touch a shimmering wall. As her fingers brushed the cool, smooth surface, patterns of light bloomed beneath her touch, swirling and reforming, like a living tapestry of information. She felt a faint echo in her mind, a whisper of images, nebulae forming. Stars being born, civilizations rising and falling across countless millennia. It was too vast, too quick to comprehend. But the sheer scale of the data was staggering. The compass continued to draw her deeper into the heart of the central crystal. The corridors narrowed slightly, becoming more intimate, yet no less grand. The light here was predominantly violet and gold, shifting with her every step. Finally, she arrived in a vast circular chamber. In the very center, suspended in mid-air by an invisible force, floated a single, perfect sphere of pure luminous light, about the size of her head. It pulsed with the same violet glow as her compass, but also held within it flashes of every color imaginable, like a captured rainbow. Around it, delicate tendrils of pure energy drifted, connecting it to the crystalline floor and ceiling, like cosmic nerve endings. The source, Glyph whispered. The primary energy signature. It is immense, pure, and emanating an intricate, multi-layered informational field. Stella approached the sphere slowly, her heart pounding with a mixture of awe and trepidation. This was it. The answer. The reason the compass had called to her across the void. As she drew within arm's reach, the sphere pulsed brighter, its light washing over her, penetrating her suit, her skin, her very being. The compass on her belt flared, its light merging with the sphere's, creating a seamless, unified glow. Then, it happened. Not a voice, not a vision, but a direct download of pure understanding into her mind. It was overwhelming, yet perfectly clear. She saw. She understood. The sphere was not merely an object. It was a nexus, a fragment of a greater consciousness, an ancient intelligence that had seeded the universe with life and meaning. It was a repository of cosmic memory, a library of creation, a guiding star for nascent civilizations. It was the heart of ether, as the whispers in her mind called it, a remnant of a primordial cosmic entity that had fragmented itself across the cosmos, each fragment a beacon, a compass. The compass she held was not just a navigation tool, it was a key, a personal link to this vast network. It had sought carrying out, drawn to a resonance within her own spirit, a latent connection she hadn't known she possessed. The answer wasn't a simple fact or a single piece of information. It was a realization of purpose. The heart of Aether had been dormant, its signals fading, its vast network of guiding beacons flickering. It needed an activator, a catalyst, a living mind to rekindle its light, to reconnect the scattered fragments, to prevent the universal consciousness from fading into oblivion. And that catalyst was Stella. She was not just an explorer. She was a keeper, a conduit. Her journey had not been a random meandering through the stars, but a guided path, orchestrated by the compass, by the faint, ancient call of the heart of Aether. She was meant to find this place, to awaken it, and through it, to awaken others. The transfer of knowledge was quick, yet contained an eternity. Stella felt her mind expand, not just with data, but with a profound sense of interconnectedness. She understood the purpose of her restless spirit, her yearning for the unknown, her quiet determination. It wasn't just curiosity. It was a calling, etched into her very being. When the light subsided, and the direct link lessened, Stella stood trembling, tears streaming down her face, not of sorrow, but of profound understanding and exhilarating responsibility. The sphere continued to glow, more steadily now, its light subtly brighter, as if her presence had indeed rekindled something within it. "Stella, are you all right?" Gleif's voice, full of concern, broke the silence. "My sensors indicate a massive surge of neural activity within your brain, coupled with an unprecedented influx of unknown energy signatures into your biosystem. What did you experience?" Stella took a deep, shuddering breath, her eyes still fixed on the luminous sphere. She reached out, placing her hand gently on its surface. It was warm, vibrant, humming with a silent song of creation. "I found the answer, Gleif," she said, her voice soft, filled with a newfound clarity. "But it's not the end of the story. It's just the beginning of the real one." She turned, her gaze sweeping over the magnificent chamber, then past it, imagining the vast crystalline expanse of the Ethereum and beyond, to the wider universe. The compass on her belt was no longer just a pointer. It was a living link, a part of her now. "We have work to do," Stella said, a determined glint in her eyes. "So much work. There are others out there, other fragments, other beacons, and they need to be found. They need to be reconnected." Glyph was silent for a long moment, processing. "My projections for Yi Wanderer's capabilities have been drastically revised," he finally said, a hint of something Stella had never heard before in his voice. Perhaps wonder. Perhaps a dawning understanding of his own expanded purpose. Recalibrating for a new mission objective: universal reclamation and network reintegration. Destination parameters: currently unknown, but I anticipate the compass will provide guidance. Stella smiled, a true, radiant smile that reached her eyes. She knew, deep in her heart, that her journey was far from over. It had only just truly begun. The universe, once a vast expanse of mystery, now held a clearer, grander purpose. And she, Stella, with her compass and her quiet courage, was ready to follow it, wherever it led, to bring light back to the forgotten corners of existence. Her gaze drifted back to the shimmering heart of the Ethereum, then out towards the distant crystalline structures, already envisioning the next step, the next great cosmic journey. The stars were calling, and now, Stella knew why. The stars were calling, and now, Stella knew why. The Ethereum shimmered, its colossal crystalline structures humming with a silent, profound energy that resonated deep within Stella's own being. Her compass, nestled in her palm, pulsed with a gentle, inviting warmth, its holographic projections swirling with intricate patterns of light and shadow, hinting at paths yet untraveled, mysteries yet unveiled. She stood on a polished platform of living light, a nexus point where the Ethereum's core energy converged, ready to embark. A soft, almost imperceptible tremor ran through the platform. From the shimmering heart of the Ethereum, a form began to coalesce. It wasn't built, but woven. Strands of pure light and solidified stardust intertwining, forming a sleek, elegant vessel. It had no sharp edges, no visible seams, only a graceful, flowing silhouette that seemed to breathe with the same life as the Ethereum itself. This was the Lumen, a ship of thought and intention, crafted by the Ethereum for journeys of light. Stella stepped forward, a quiet reverence in her heart. The illumin opened to her, not with a hatch or a door, but by simply parting its luminous form, inviting her into a core chamber that felt less like a cockpit and more like an extension of her own consciousness. There were no intricate controls, no blinking lights. Instead, a soft ambient glow enveloped her, and a shimmering panel rose before her, mirroring the display of her compass. The illumin was designed to respond to her will, to the subtle nudges of the compass, and to the grand purpose that now guided her. As she settled into the ship's gentle embrace, a profound sense of peace washed over her. The Ethereum, a silent mentor, seemed to infuse her with a renewed sense of clarity and courage. The vastness of the universe, once daunting, now felt like a grand, intricate tapestry, waiting to be appreciated, its faded threads yearning for restoration. With a final deep breath, Stella focused her intention. The compass flared, projecting a faint, almost ethereal beam directly ahead. The illumin responded. It didn't launch with a roar or a jolt. It simply flowed outwards, a ripple in the fabric of space-time, leaving the Ethereum's embrace behind. The crystalline structures receded, shrinking into a dazzling constellation of their own, until they were just another distant star among billions. Her first destination, as indicated by the compass, was a region known in ancient star charts as the Whispering Void. It wasn't a true void, not empty space, but a vast nebula where the light of countless stars seemed to have been muffled, their energetic connections severed. It was a place of profound quietude, where even the faintest cosmic hum seemed unable to penetrate, leaving it a corner of existence forgotten by the vibrant symphony of the cosmos. The journey was unlike anything Stella had ever experienced. The illumin seemed to fold space around them, traversing unimaginable distances not by speed alone, but by a graceful manipulation of reality. Outside, nebulae swirled in vibrant, living tapestries of gas and dust. Distant galaxies hung like iridescent pearls on a velvet cloth. Stella watched, mesmerized as the universe unfolded before her, each new vista a reminder of the boundless wonder she was privileged to witness. The illumin's translucent hull offered an unobstructed view, turning the entire ship into an observatory. She felt a profound connection to it all, a tiny but vital thread in the grand design. After what felt like both an eternity and a fleeting moment, the compass's holographic map began to shift. The vibrant blues and greens of the cosmic currents gave way to muted grays and purples, speckled with faint, almost ghostly pinpricks of light that struggled to break through. Approaching the Whispering Void, the compass projected silently onto the illumin's internal display, its gentle chime resonating only in her mind. As they drew closer, the change became palpable. The usual background hum of stellar radiation and cosmic microwaves faded into an unnerving silence. The light from distant stars, which normally painted the illumin's hull in shifting hues, grew dim, then vanished entirely, leaving them in a profound, almost absolute darkness. It wasn't the kind of darkness that swallowed light, but one that seemed to absorb it, preventing it from ever truly manifesting. "This is the Whispering Void," Stella murmured, her voice a soft echo in the silent chamber. The compass pulsed, its central gem glowing with a steady, reassuring light, the only beacon in the enveloping gloom. "It feels lonely." The illumin slowed, its energy signature barely a whisper, as if respecting the profound quietude of the place. Stella felt a prickle of something akin to sadness, a deep empathy for this forgotten corner of the universe. The stars were here, she knew, deep within this nebula, but their light, their energy, their very presence was muted, unable to reach out, unable to connect. The compass projected a complex, swirling diagram. It showed not celestial bodies, but rather energetic pathways, like invisible rivers flowing between stars. In the Whispering Void, these rivers were not merely dimmed, they were fractured, broken, their currents stagnant. It was a place of profound disconnection. "We need to find the break," Stella whispered, her fingers tracing the glowing lines on the compass's projection. The source of the silence. The illumin began to navigate through the ethereal mist of the nebula, guided solely by the compass. Without external light, visual navigation was impossible. Stella relied on the ship's internal sensors, which painted a holographic landscape of swirling gases and phantom starlight. Here and there, she observed strange, elongated forms, like dark tendrils, drifting aimlessly. They were not solid, nor were they alive in any conventional sense. The compass identified them as shadow tendrils, remnants of the energy drain that had caused the void. They weren't dangerous, but rather inert, absorbing any stray energy that came too close, perpetuating the darkness. Stella knew her mission wasn't to destroy these tendrils, but to restore the flow of light and energy that would naturally disperse them, like fog burning off in the morning sun. Hours turned into what felt like days. The silence of the whispering void pressed in, testing Stella's resolve, yet her quiet courage held firm. The compass was her constant companion, its gentle hum a reminder of her purpose. It led her deeper into the nebula, past the silent slumbering stars, towards a central region where the energetic fractures were most severe. Finally, the compass projected a new image, a massive, ancient structure, barely discernible even on the Lumen's advanced sensors. It was not a natural formation but something crafted, vast and intricate, resembling a colossal, dormant crystalline network. It was unlike anything Stella had ever seen, even within the Ethereum. This structure, the compass indicated, was an etheric conduit hub, a central relay for the energetic currents that powered and connected this entire sector of the galaxy. It had gone dark, its intricate pathways severed. "This is it," Stella breathed, a surge of excitement mingling with the quiet awe she always felt when facing such profound ancient mysteries. The heart of the silence. The Illumin approached the hub cautiously. It was a structure of unimaginable scale, its surface etched with glyphs that pulsed with a faint, almost imperceptible inner light. Some of these glyphs, Stella realized, were akin to the symbols she had seen within the Ethereum itself, hinting at a shared ancient origin. The hub was dormant, its energy depleted, its purpose forgotten. The compass projected a detailed schematic of the hub, highlighting critical junctions and power conduits. It seemed the hub hadn't been destroyed, but rather had simply shut down, perhaps due to a massive energy drain or an ancient deliberate deactivation. Whatever the cause, the effect was clear. A vast network of stars and nebulae had been cut off from the main flow of etheric energy, leaving them in this state of forgotten quietude. "We need to reactivate it," Stella declared, her voice firm with determination. The compass guided her to a specific section of the hub, a colossal crystalline spire that seemed to reach towards the heart of the nebula. This was the primary input conduit, now dark and inert. Stella guided the Illumin closer, allowing the ship's energy sensing capabilities to interface with the dormant structure. A new set of controls appeared on the Illumin's console, projected directly from the compass. They were intuitive, responding to her thoughts and subtle hand movements. She began to channel a controlled pulse of Ethereum energy from the Illumin into the hub's primary conduit. It was a delicate operation, like jump-starting a sleeping giant. Too much, too fast, and she risked damaging the ancient structure. Too little, and it would remain dormant. Stella focused, drawing upon the quiet strength she had found within the Ethereum. She felt the subtle shift in energy, the resistance of the dormant conduits, then a faint, almost imperceptible hum that resonated back through the Illumin and into her very being. The glyphs on the spire's surface began to glow. Faintly at first, then with increasing intensity, like ancient script awakening from a long slumber. As the energy flowed, the compass's holographic map of the whispering void began to change. The fractured lines of the energetic rivers shimmered, then slowly, hesitantly, began to reconnect. It was like watching a broken circuit mend itself, one delicate pathway at a time. The shadow tendrils, which had been drifting idly, began to dissipate, their dark forms dissolving into the newly awakened etheric currents. The process was slow, painstaking, requiring Stella's complete focus. For what felt like hours, she maintained the delicate balance, guiding the Ethereum's restorative energy through the ancient hub. She felt the strains of the effort, but also a growing exhilaration as the silence around her began to recede. Then, with a gentle resonant aroma that vibrated through the Illumin and echoed through the very fabric of the nebula, the etheric conduit hub fully awakened. A wave of brilliant, multicolored light erupted from its central spire, not blinding, but profoundly warm and vibrant, spreading outwards like a cosmic aurora. The whispering void was no longer whispering. The stars within the nebula, which had been mere ghostly pinpricks, flared into brilliant, full-bodied light, their colors vibrant and true. Their energy, once muted, now flowed freely, connecting with each other through the reactivated hub, creating a dazzling network of luminous pathways. The dark, absorbing gases of the nebula began to glow with an inner luminescence, transforming the entire region into a breathtaking cosmic garden of light. Stella watched, tears welling in her eyes, tears of profound joy and wonder. The silence was gone, replaced by the gentle, harmonious hum of awakened stars and flowing etheric currents. It was a symphony of light and energy, a testament to the power of connection. She piloted the Illumin through the newly vibrant nebula, deploying small self-sustaining lumen spheres, tiny orbs of condensed Ethereum energy, into key points within the reconnected network. These lumen spheres would act as permanent energetic beacons, ensuring the flow remained strong and vibrant, preventing the region from ever falling back into silence. The stars of the whispering void, now reconnected, seemed to pulse with a renewed vitality. Stella felt a deep satisfaction, a quiet pride in the work she had done. She had brought light, not just visually, but in the deeper sense of connection and purpose, back to a forgotten corner of existence. As the Illumin moved towards the edge of the now vibrant nebula, the compass pulsed again, its holographic map shifting. The whispering void, once a region of muted grays, now glowed with brilliant blues and purples, its energetic pathways bright and clear. But beyond it, in the distant reaches of the cosmos, another faint broken pathway shimmered into view. Another corner, another silence, another call for light. Stella gazed out at the reawakened nebula, a breathtaking testament to her journey. The stars, once whispering, now sang. Her heart swelled with gratitude and purpose. This was only the first step, she knew. The universe was vast, and there were many more forgotten corners, many more silences to fill with light. And she, Stella, with her compass and her quiet courage, was ready to answer every single call. The next journey beckoned, a faint, enticing glimmer on the edge of the known. The next journey beckoned, a faint, enticing glimmer on the edge of the known. Stella didn't hesitate. Her compass, still warm from the nebula's reawakening, hummed a new, softer tune. It wasn't the urgent thrum of a forgotten star, but a delicate, almost melancholic resonance. It felt less like a beacon and more like a whisper, drawing her not to light, but to a different kind of absence. "To the echoing void, little friend?" she murmured, stroking the compass's smooth, cool surface. It pulsed gently in response, a silent affirmation. The echoing void was a region whispered about in old star charts, a place where no signals ever returned, where probes went silent, and where even the most intrepid explorers turned back, unnerved by the profound quiet. It was said to be a place where sound itself seemed to recoil. Stella prepared her ship, the Stardust Wanderer, with a quiet determination. She checked the atmospheric processors, the long-range comms array, though she suspected it would be useless, and the advanced sonic emitters she'd installed for just such an eventuality. If the echoing void truly lacked sound, perhaps it was sound that she needed to bring. The journey was long, through vast stretches of interstellar dust and ancient, silent asteroid fields. As the Stardust Wanderer approached the designated coordinates, a palpable sense of stillness began to descend. The ship's internal comms, usually alive with the gentle hum of system operations, grew faint. The distant thrum of the warp drive seemed to soften, as if the very fabric of space were muffling it. Stella looked at her readings. All normal. Yet, the deep, resonant bass of her ship's engines was now barely a murmur. Her own voice, when she spoke into the log, sounded strangely hollow, distant, as if swallowed by an unseen presence. Entering the echoing void, she announced, her words feeling thin and fragile in the growing silence. The compass on her console began to glow with a soft, steady light, its hum now almost imperceptible, as if it too were struggling against the oppressive quiet. The view screen revealed a nebula unlike any she had seen before. It wasn't dark like the previous one, nor was it vibrant with starlight. Instead, it was a swirling expanse of deep muted blues and purples, shot through with veins of an even deeper indigo. Stars were visible, but their light seemed diffused, distant, as if their cheerful twinkling had been absorbed. There were no bright explosions of gas, no dynamic currents. Everything moved with a languid, almost frozen grace. It was beautiful, but a beauty tinged with profound melancholy. Stella guided the Stardust Wanderer deeper. Her sensors began to pick up faint energy signatures, scattered across the nebula. They were complex, intricate patterns, but incredibly weak, like whispers lost in a hurricane. Or rather, in a profound silence. The compass flared. It wasn't a directional beam, but a pulsating wave of light that seemed to resonate with the energy signatures. Stella felt a jolt of understanding. These weren't just energy patterns, they were communications. A language, perhaps, made of light and subtle vibrations, trying desperately to be heard. She directed the Stardust Wanderer towards the strongest cluster of these signals. As she drew closer, she realized she wasn't seeing stars, but vast, crystalline structures, each one glittering with an inner light that pulsed in time with the faint energy signals. They were enormous, cathedral-like formations drifting slowly in the silent nebula. And within them she sensed life. "Hello?" Stella whispered, her voice feeling utterly inadequate. She activated the ship's external sensors, trying to get a clearer picture. What she saw captivated her. The beings were luminescent, crystalline entities, shaped like elongated, graceful spindles. They drifted within their colossal structures, their forms constantly shifting, their inner light flaring and dimming in complex patterns. They communicated not with sound, but with these intricate light dances and subtle vibrational hums that resonated through their crystalline bodies and the structures they inhabited. It was a language of pure light and sympathetic vibration. But they were fading. Stella watched, her heart aching. The light patterns were growing weaker, less complex, often breaking off abruptly. The vibrations were sporadic, uncoordinated. It was as if they were trying to sing, but their voices were being stolen, their light dimmed. The echoing void wasn't just silent, it was absorbing their very essence of communication. Her compass pulsed again, this time with a focused beam, not outward, but inward, towards Stella. A message formed in her mind, not in words, but in a cascade of images and feelings, the joy of connection, the despair of isolation, the beauty of shared light. And then, an image of a vast, unseen network, severed. Stella understood. The silence wasn't natural. Something was actively disrupting their ability to communicate. Something was scrambling the universal harmony. She began to scan the nebula more intensely, using every sensor her ship possessed. It took hours, but eventually, she found it. Not a device, but a phenomenon. Deep within the core of the nebula, a swirling vortex of dark energy pulsed. It wasn't visible light, but a gravitational anomaly, a kind of anti-resonance field that absorbed specific frequencies of light and vibration, the very frequencies these crystalline beings used to connect. It was like a giant cosmic noise-canceling spell designed to silence. How could she fight a field of pure anti-resonance? How could she bring back the song of beings who communicated through light and tremor, when the very fabric of their world was designed to mute them? She looked at her compass. It was radiating a steady, unwavering light, a perfect, pure tone that somehow transcended the silence. It wasn't being absorbed. Its energy signature was unique. "You're the key, aren't you?" she murmured, gently touching its surface. The compass responded with a surge of warmth, as if agreeing. Stella began to formulate a plan. Her ship had powerful sonic emitters, designed for asteroid deflection and deep space communication. But these beings didn't use sound. They used light and vibration. What if, she thought aloud, I could translate the compass's frequency into a form they could understand? A vibrational light pattern strong enough to cut through the anti-resonance. It was a risky idea. She would be broadcasting an unknown energy signature into a delicate ecosystem. But the beings were fading. Doing nothing was not an option. She spent the next few days in intense work, modifying her ship's systems. She rerouted the compass's energy output directly into the Stardust Wanderer's primary light emitters and the ship's structural resonators. She created a complex algorithm that would translate the compass's unique frequency into a pulsing light sequence and a synchronized vibrational wave, mimicking the language she had observed in the crystalline beings, but amplified by the compass's pure energy. Her ship became a giant instrument, ready to play a single, vital note. Finally, she was ready. She positioned the Stardust Wanderer at the edge of the anti-resonance field, directly between the core anomaly and the cluster of fading crystalline structures. She took a deep breath, her heart thrumming with a mix of fear and exhilarating purpose. "Here goes," she whispered. She activated the system. A wave of pure, shimmering light erupted from the Stardust Wanderer. It wasn't harsh or blinding, but a soft, iridescent glow, pulsing with a rhythm that seemed to emanate from the very heart of the compass. Simultaneously, a subtle vibration permeated the ship, spreading outwards through the hull, a silent hum that Stella felt more than heard. The light wave hit the anti-resonance field. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a ripple. The dark energy field seemed to flicker, momentarily distorted by the pure, focused energy of the compass-amplified signal. Stella held her breath. The crystalline beings were still, their light patterns almost gone. Then a single faint flicker from one of the structures. A small, tentative pulse of light. Then another, stronger, and another. The light from the Stardust Wanderer intensified, pushing back against the silence. It wasn't just light. It was information, a bridge being built across the void. The compass's energy flowed through Stella's ship, creating a resonant channel, a pathway for the crystalline being's own fading signals. Slowly, hesitantly, the light patterns within the crystalline structures began to respond. They mirrored the rhythm of Stella's ship, then began to weave their own, still fragile, but growing stronger. The subtle vibrations returned, spreading through the nebula, a song without sound, a symphony of light and tremor. The anti-resonance field began to recede, pushed back by the sheer purity and unwavering frequency of the compass's energy. It couldn't absorb what it couldn't disrupt. It couldn't silence what was fundamentally harmonious. As the connections solidified, the entire nebula began to hum. The muted blues and purples started to brighten, infused with new life. The crystalline structures, once languid, now pulsed with a vibrant, coordinated energy. Their inner lights flared, creating dazzling arrays of color and intricate, ever-shifting patterns. Stella watched, tears welling in her eyes. It was a dance, a conversation, a joyous reunion. The beings were communicating again, their unique language of light and vibration flowing freely, echoing across the vast expanse. Then, something extraordinary happened. A cascade of light, 1,000 times brighter and more beautiful than anything she had seen, burst forth from the closest crystalline structure. It wasn't just a pattern, it was an expression of profound gratitude, of reawakened joy, of rediscovered connection. The light washed over the Stardust Wanderer, not harming, but embracing. Stella felt a warmth spread through her, a sense of belonging, a feeling that transcended words. The compass glowed brilliantly, its work done, its mission fulfilled. It had not just pointed the way. It had provided the very means of restoration. It had given a voice back to the silenced, a light back to the dim. Stella watched as the crystalline beings, no longer fading, began to thrive. Their structures drifted with renewed purpose, their light songs filling the nebula with a vibrant, silent chorus. The echoing void was no longer silent, it was singing, a symphony of pure, resonant light. She knew her work here was done. The anti-resonance field was still there, a distant shadow at the nebula's core. But the compass's frequency had created a permanent channel, a resonant pathway that allowed the beings to communicate, no matter how strong the disruption. They had found their voice again, and they would not lose it. Stella guided the Stardust Wanderer away, her heart full. The nebula, once so melancholic, now radiated a gentle, vibrant energy. The stars visible beyond its edge seemed to twinkle with renewed cheer, no longer muffled by the oppressive quiet. She looked at her compass. It was still warm, still humming, but its light had softened to a gentle, steady glow, a tranquil presence in the quiet cockpit. It was a part of her now, a silent companion on her cosmic quest. The universe, Stella realized, was not just a collection of stars and planets. It was a symphony of light and shadow, sound and silence, connection and isolation. And her role, with her quiet courage and her remarkable compass, was to mend the broken notes, to illuminate the forgotten melodies, to bring harmony wherever she found discord. She settled into her pilot's chair, gazing out at the magnificent, reawakened nebula, now a testament to connection. The Stardust Wanderer drifted peacefully through the newly vibrant space, its engines a gentle murmur, no longer swallowed by silence. There would be more journeys, she knew. More calls from forgotten corners, more silences to fill with the warmth of understanding. The compass would guide her, and her heart would lead the way. For now, a profound peace settled over Stella. She closed her eyes, feeling the gentle thrum of her ship, the distant, silent song of the nebula, and the quiet, steady beat of her own contented heart. She was a guardian of light, a weaver of connections, and tonight, she had helped the universe sing again. And with that thought, Stella drifted into a deep, peaceful sleep, dreaming of shimmering light and silent melodies, ready for whatever new adventure the dawn would bring.